Hello everyone, welcome back to another deadline stream on the channel. I hope we're well, keeping well. I'm very much looking forward to this stream again. Let me quickly pull up some of the graphics. I am in a slight rush because I didn't get an opportunity to put together some of my scenes, but I'll do it on the fly while on the stream and say good morning to all of you. I hope we're all well. Let me know who we have in here while I'm pulling these up. But great to be back, of course, and like I said, it's going to be another enjoyable stream because I have made some big moves this week. I really like my team for this particular game week again. Let me pull it up while I'm talking here. Here it is. I think I've gone very strong. I have a very strong team for this particular game week. Let's see what we got in here though. We have Johan, we have Alex Price, we got Jamie. We got Robert. Again, we'll get to questions in just a second. Let me say good morning to everyone in chat, though. We also have Gavin. Food. We got Chloe. FPL Jinx. Good to see you, Anto. The Timinator. Great to see so many familiar faces. And again, I'm just very excited to get going. I hope you can see and hear me as usual. Again, I do apologize if a few things need to be updated. Again, I am just updating the time now. Give me 2 seconds. We have 1 hour and 16 minutes, or 1 hour 56 minutes. Cape Town in the house. Good stuff. All right, I am good to go, lads. I hope we're all well, and it's great to see you on a Saturday, almost afternoon or evening. Sorry. As you know, we have 5 free transfers. And I think many managers are making lots of moves, rightly so. I think it's going to be an interesting week overall because it's almost like a mini wildcard. You know, you have managers who will be using up to 5 free transfers, even more, I imagine, if they are very unhappy with their team. We get to reshuffle the pack, move on players who might be going to AFCON, even though there's very limited players and not even many are going this game week, but still an opportunity to do it. And you have the likes of managers like me who are setting up with a bigger idea with bench boost. And this makes for a really interesting end to the first half of the season. Again, let me quickly pop out the chat so I can see it. Sorry guys, 1 second. Just so I can pull it up and you can see your own messages. Which makes for a really exciting end to the first half of the season with bench boost in 17, and I'll show you in just a second what my bench boost is going to look like. But here is how my team looks going into game week 16. So let me quickly read it out for those who are listening. On goal, we've got Alisson Becker with Brighton at home, 3 at the back with Nkapie, which was my second move of this game week. We have 3 free transfers used. So it means I have 2 remaining in the bank, of course. Jurriën Timber, who I am starting this game week, and Anderson. 4 in midfield with Bruno Fernandes, the other Anderson, Elliot Anderson, Bukayo Saka with the armband, and Dominic Szoboszlai. 3 up top with Erling Haaland, Thiago, and Raul, who was my 3rd transfer. And then on the bench, we've got Dubravka, O'Reilly, Richards, and Minta. So in my opinion, a very strong squad going into the game week, and to be honest, I'm very happy with it also. I think, you know, if you were free hitting this game week, you would have a lot of the players in my team. I think particularly Nkapie, Anderson, Timber, Szoboszlai, Saka, Bruno, Haaland, Thiago, and that's what 7 out of the 11 that you might have on a free hit. We're currently sat 495k overall, and I have the bench boost remaining. Now, I'm confident going into these game weeks, and the reason for that is I think I've set up myself in a good way. And I was, you know, a bit, I'll be honest, disappointed, I would say. That's the best way to put it, in the last 2 or 3 game weeks with how it went. And I was quite critical on how I managed it, you know, just reviewing on some of the moves that I made, what worked out, what didn't. And when I look back, I actually have no regrets on how I played it. Again, the biggest thing that didn't work out for me was the Salah in Wildcard 8. And it means that I'm just playing with, you know, much less team value than the field. But then in hindsight, right, you know, I actually don't regret that. I feel like my thought process and decision making I was happy with, and I have been happy with. Other than that, it's just the captaincy is where I've gone wrong. And again, captaincy is just one of those things where if you go against it, yeah, you're asking for either really high upside or some trouble. And it happens, like you are going to get some captaincies wrong. So that is, the ultimate fact on why we've had a poor 2 or 3 weeks. But that's completely fine with me, because overall, in terms of my picks, I've been very, very happy with them. And the captaincy decisions and a big decision like Salah, they can easily go against you. So absolutely no regrets, even though it's not gone quite the way I wanted. Good to see it, Kev. We also have Random Randomness. We have TK, Lee, True, and Chewy FPL. Let's answer our first question in stream, and then I can go back, or if you want to ask your question again, either works. But first question from Near, he says, bro, why do you think Fulham is favourite against Burnley away? Have you checked their head-to-head stats regardless if Fulham is better? Thiago captain for me. To be honest, the play of going Thiago is not because I necessarily think Raul Jimenez is absolutely phenomenal, nor Fulham. What it comes down to is, in game week 17, I have a bench boost to set up. Mark Gee is not going to be the player that I want to have on my bench boost. When I look at the 6 million assets in terms of forwards, Raul is probably the best out of a bad bunch. You have the likes of Welbeck, who's also there. He plays Sunderland in game week 17. You have the likes of Colomboani, which I just don't quite want to go to, and he's a bit more expensive. Raul Jimenez is a good option at a good price point with some decent fixtures on penalties with good minutes. I'm not necessarily trying to sell him as this player who's going to come up with some massive hauls. He's a good fixture this game week where I do fancy playing him. And I would like to say, historically, in previous seasons, when Raul gets into a spell of games, consistently getting minutes, he has had his fair share of returns in past seasons. Now, if we quickly look at his stats to goals ratio, I think if we look at, it's not recorded before his head injury, but since he's come back from his head injury, let's just take 23-24, 18 starts, 7 goals. Last season, 30 starts, 12 goals, 3 assists. They're not bad returns for a budget forward, and if he can kick on in the spell of games where he has Burnley, Forest and West Ham, well, I'm happy to hold on to a player like him. And again, at that price point with a bench boost, you don't mind it. And otherwise, you have some people who are bench boosting the likes of Krupi Jr. You have some people bench boosting Mark Gee even this game week. So I don't mind it as an option. Good morning, Davis. Good to see you. Don't own Saka. How cooked am I? Chewy, this could be a week where you're fairly cooked, because I think anyone who owns Saka is probably captain him. I think that's fair to say. And you will see in the wider engaged community that it's going to be a common theme with a lot of people captain Saka. And I think the reason is there. If you look at it on paper, Saka's just after getting a rest, 20 minutes midweek, penalties, sometimes DEFCON. If you're asking me, I don't think it is as obvious as the community is making it to be. Wolves are absolutely poor. But would I be surprised to see 70 minutes for Saka versus Wolves? Not necessarily. This game could be finished after the first half. And then you could also raise the argument, if it is finished in the first half, then Saka could largely be involved in the goals. But again, just trying to think of, the game state on how it could go. It's going to be interesting. And I don't think Bruno or Haaland are bad captaincies at all. If you were on free hit, how would it look? It wouldn't look far off what I currently have. If you're asking me, it would be no Elliot Anderson. It would be no Raul / Thiago. I feel like this could be a week where you could actually differentiate and go with a Raul other than a Thiago. Jerry and Timber would probably be a Lewis Skelly. The goalkeeper would also probably be Sanchez. And that Anderson position would be Brian Mbeumo. Other than that, not much would change. Johan is saying, Chai, will you be going over any teams on Twitter later? I'm on Bench Boost and posted my team under your latest tweet. Would love to get your opinion. Yeah, Johan, we can do that for sure a bit later. I'm just going to currently take a lot of questions and run you through my current thought process for the week ahead. Chai, do you have much money in the bank? I'd like to see future planning until game week 22 to 20 or 20 to 22 perhaps. Yeah, I'm going to actually do that in just a second, and it might give you an idea on how I plan on figuring out the rest of the season, considering I'm going to have a lot of depth going into the later game weeks with 18, 19, 20, as I am using my bench boost in game week 17. We'll get to that in just a second. Near says Raul may have better minutes now given Jimenez is out. However, since Iwobi and Chukwueze is going to AFCON, doesn't that make Fulham attack weaker? That's my opinion, but your team looks great. I mean, it is a fair opinion to say, but it kind of works, both ways, right? This is how I would put it. I don't think Fulham are, particularly a good attack. I think Iwobi and the likes of Chukwueze has made him a good attack, but let's be real, Chukwueze before this season, no one would have talked about him largely impacting Fulham. Iwobi, I can hear for sure, absolutely. But or if we put this under the same aspect as Liverpool, okay, Liverpool haven't been as good as an attack as we probably expect them to be, nor as good of a team generally from a team strength perspective. Mo Salah, who's been off form, if you take Salah out of that team, you probably go, yeah, Liverpool's attack is weakened, and I don't think there's much debate about that. But what it does do is it lets other players take a bit more responsibility, and someone has to score the goals. I don't think it necessarily means Liverpool are a poor attack because there's no Salah. It just means that players like Ekitike, Isaac and Wirtz have to step up to the plate, and the goals are going to be shared around. If I look at that from a Fulham perspective, okay, maybe that means Raul is the main man now, and his minutes are good going into these game weeks. Again, it really depends on what lens you want to take, and I feel like there is an argument both ways. But again, Burnley for Raul, decent fixture. Whatever you want to make about the head-to-head, Fulham was just slotted past 4 goals past City, who I would consider a decent defence. I'm just playing the fixtures, I'm playing the minutes, and I have bench boosts, and there's not much other than that. And there's not many other assets I can go to other than the Raul. H, I hope you have a great game week. Please provide your wisdom, Lee is asking. Would you rather bench O'Reilly, Virgil, Chow, and Timber? Cheers. I would easily bench Malik Chow. And that's just me. Forgot about this stream, says Maliki. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy your stay. Good morning also to Adam. Let's actually start talking a bit more about my macro view on particularly how I want to play going into the second half of the season. So in front of you I have FPL team. Again, let me pencil in the moves that I've made for anyone who's just joined us. So Bukayo Saka has indeed come in for Mo Salah. I'll be benching Yankuba into this game week. Joe Rodon has gone up to a Piero Hincapié, and I'm really looking forward to holding an Hincapié this week because I don't think it's a move that many people are going to have. As it stands, I'm currently benching Nico O'Reilly, and Mark Gee has gone up to a Raul Jimenez, who has got a price rise along with Hincapié this week. So we play a 3-4-3 with Alisson Becker on goal, 3 at the back with Jurriën Timber, Hincapié and Anderson. The armband for this week is going on to Bukayo Saka. 4 in midfield with Bruno Fernandes, Anderson, Szoboszlai, 3 up top with Raul, Thiago and Haaland. Again, like I said, I fancy my team going into this game week. I think it's not too far of what you will see from a lot of bench boosts. Or not bench boosts, free hits. I had a few different iterations that I did play with this game week. The other one I was looking at that I could still do, but I don't quite fancy, is moving Alisson down to Quavian Kelleher.
Attack over here and I'm excited. Smiley face emoji.
Thank you for the super chat, Maliki, who sends us €2. Says double Fulham attack over here and I'm excited. I assume you've gone with a Wilson perhaps and a Raul. Very interesting, Maliki. I'm interested to see if you also have the bench boost. I don't think I'd quite go there if I wasn't on bench boost. And again, lads, I see Derek also in there, Jamie, Adam, a lot of great questions in there. Bear with me just a second. I just want to speak about my own team before I get to your questions. And again, I do apologise. But with 1.1 million in the bank, if I decided to do Alisson to Quavian Kelleher, it also leaves me do, a Chris Richards up to a Collins. I feel like I don't love this, but it does provide a lot of upside. And the reason I like that is because, doubling up on Brentford is quite differential. I actually feel Brentford over the next run of games is actually very good. And also, with the likes of Timber being out, it kind of makes it strengthens my team slightly. But I actually, I don't prefer that move at all. So let me go back to just doing the three moves like we're saying this week with Bukayo Saka captain. And let's move on to game week 17, the week in where I want the bench boost. So I don't know if many have the bench boost remaining, but here is how I look in game week 17. And let me quickly pencil in what my bench would look like. So it would actually mean bringing in Petrovic and starting him over Alisson, who plays against Tottenham. I'm actually no that the price rises is why it looks like I'm priced out. I was thinking, so I've gained 0.4 on the team value, if you're wondering. But it would mean bringing in Petrovic, benching Szoboszlai, benching Alisson, starting O'Reilly over Anderson. So O'Reilly goes to the bench, and probably starting Richards over Minta as well. I have 2 free transfers and nothing in the bank. I think without any moves made, that team is really, really good to bench boost. And if we hit the bench boost there, I would say we could get up to maybe 14 to 16 points at a minimum, I'd like to think. And some great fixtures on the bench. I don't think Alisson and Szoboszlai going to Tottenham away is particularly bad. And Anderson, who we know can get DEFCON, and Minta with a decent fixture. Again, the bench isn't absolutely phenomenal, but the starting 11 is great, and it's a decent bench to have. Also, I'll be going to this Tottenham-Liverpool game, so it's a win-win for me. Liverpool getting out now the game and Spurs win, I'm happy. Liverpool get something in this game, I'm probably still unhappy because I'll be at the game, but at least it's somewhat of a double-edged sword where we get something. And I think rolling another 2 free transfers going into this game week, I'd be more than happy to do. When we look at game week 8, again, this is where I'll have to be making decisions. Alisson comes straight back into the team. That's why I want to hold on to him. Wolves at home. It doesn't get better than that. Szoboszlai gets straight back into the team. And so does Joachim Andersen, who plays against West Ham. Where I'll be looking to make the moves, I think, for my own team, would likely be Jurriën Timber. I feel like I could see myself dropping Jurriën Timber down to whether it's Van Dijk, who's got a great fixture this week with Wolves at home in 18, and trying to bring up Yankuba Minta to a Kuna, who I'm actually really high on, who plays against Newcastle, which I don't think many will fancy, but it is still a great fixture, and that means bringing Raul back down to a Mark Guy, which would be my preference. As like I said, I wouldn't want to hold on to that structure of a Raul Jimenez, as a lot might say he's not great, and I would probably agree long term, and that means doubling up on the United attack for having a nice attack in game week 19 with doubling up on Wolves at home, tripling up on the Leeds at home fixture, and doubling up on the Sunderland fixture. So that's how I plan on doing game week 16 to 19, if you're asking me now. So let's get back to my current team and answering some of your questions. Good to see a Maximilian. Jamie says, actually, I'm going to go back a small bit to Derek. So, out shopping with my mum, he says, ditched her for Choi. Free active, come on you Spurs. Love to hear that, Derek. And best of luck this game week, and come on you Spurs. Jamie says Josh King be good for bench boost next week with Fulham players at AFCON. Yeah, I don't mind Josh King. He's a player who's emerged this season so far, and he's got a good amount of starts. It's interesting to see, and I wouldn't mind bench boosting him at all. Yeah, beware of Szoboszlai with the 4 yellow cards, and to be honest, I don't mind it. To be honest, sorry, if he does get a yellow card, I just transfer him out. That's fine with me. Eddie Casey says, I don't have Saka. Who would you captain? Fernandes, Foden, Haaland, Thiago, please. I would probably just go Haaland or Fernandes. My preference would be Haaland. What do you think about Evan Nilsson and Richarlison? Callum is asking. I would prefer Kolomoani out of the two. If I had to choose between them, I would probably go Richarlison. Christian says, here's my team, Chai. What transfers should I make? I don't think there are any obvious transfers to be made in that team. It is quite a good team. I think I'd probably be happy rolling into next week. Naba says, my bench is Verbergen, Enzo, Xhaka, Rodon. Should I bench boost? I'm going to say Yes, I think if I had a plane 4, I would bench boost considering we're getting to the later stages of the season. Toss some Palmer, Virgil, and triple Arsenal attack on Freya. I don't think personally I would go with Palmer. Again, just a small bit of doubts with him. But yeah, overall, Virgil and triple Arsenal attack sounds great. Sean says, well, morning, Choi. If you still had the triple captain, when would you play it? I feel like this is a good week to play it on Saka. Otherwise, I would just wait until next week where Haaland plays against West Ham. What else was I going to do? Oh, I was going to do a poll. Yeah, sorry. Let's do a captaincy poll because I do think this is a good discussion. Let's do your game week 16 captain. Let's go with Saka. Let's go with Erling Haaland. And let's put in an other. And let me know what you are doing if it is other. I feel like Saka, if you own him, will be quite popular this week. And I understand that. You're on Eze, Captain Christian. I don't love that. You think, Kev, that Gyökeres will be in the starting 11? I'm unsure how I feel about that. Yeah, but I think we're in for a big game week. That's what I was going to do. Let's pull up X and let's take a look at some Solio predictions. Let's go to Rob T. So Rob T, as you know, does the predictions on a weekly basis. What graphic do we want to look at? Let's take a look at, first off, the player projections this week. Bukayo Saka at 7.2. I mean, that's one of the highest I think we've seen so far this season. That's astronomically high. Bruno over Haaland, which is another interesting piece from Solio. Again, I assume it's the minutes play there. And Szoboszlai, 4th on the list. What's great for me is that I own the top 4. And I also have Nkapie, which is number 6. And I also own Anderson, which is 14th on the list, which is great, of course. Let me know how many on this list you own. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a big week for my team. Davis says, standard practice, I've never transferred out Verbergen for Kelleher, but due to the circumstances, 5 gifted, I'm tempted to make the move, as I'm a lot more confident in Brentford as a defence. What are your thoughts? I like that, Davis, for sure. If Verbergen was my starting goalkeeper, I would definitely do it. I don't think I'd have any questions on it. I would say Keller is comfortably better than Verbergen. Morning, should I toss some Minoz, De Ligt and Gordon to Cash, Anderson and Saka? I like those moves, Ahmed, for sure. I don't really like the Cash move, I'll be honest. I don't know how I feel about that, but generally, Anderson and Saka are great moves, without a doubt. And by the way, you spelled Anderson wrong. Assuming you mean the midfielder, but yeah, still great moves. Injury update on Senesi. I think he could be back for this game. Should I sell Verbergen this week to get a better goalkeeper for bench boost and get him later? Or 0.5 in bank. What should I do, or who should I get? Leno or Kelleher? If it's bench boost this week, I would get Kelleher for sure. Best week to free hit. I think it is still team dependent on when you look at free hit. If we look at some of the fixtures, let's just say 16, 17, 18, 19. If you're asking me, I feel like 16 and 18 are probably my preferences. The reason being, you get to triple up on Liverpool in 18 if you want to go to that Wolves fixture. You also have Everton assets playing Burnley, Arsenal playing Brighton, and City playing Forest. So I feel like it is a good fixture, a good week for fixtures. In comparison to 17, where a lot of fixtures probably land better for some of the worser teams, so therefore you're more likely to have a lot of assets from the likes of Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, for example, even City, who are a lot of people are already doubled or tripled up on. And 16 this week is also a great week because you get to triple up on the Arsenal guys. In a week where there's a lot of question marks about, Nkapie, for example, or Timber.
Hi Chai, I have spent all my 5F team Bumo Saka, Enzo Bruno, Mate Gayu, Munoz Cash, Sar Wilson. Can you please rate these transfers?
Thank you, Aryan, for the super chat. He says, hi Chai, I've spent all my 5 free transfers. I've done Mbuemo to Saka, Enzo to Bruno, Mateta to Marquis, Munoz to Cash, and Sar to Wilson. Can you please assess and rate these transfers? So, Mbuemo to Saka. I feel like this is a 10 out of 10 move. Embuemo is good this week, don't get me wrong, and it is hard to sell him this week. But overall, I think it is more so like Embuemo to Bruno. So I think that's a good move. Embuemo to Bruno is a good move. And Enzo to Saka, great move. Mateta to Guy. Mateta is starting to lose minutes. Palace, are only getting worse in this point in time. And then the fixture congestion is also coming in. So completely understand that move. Munoz to Cash, I am not absolutely hung on. But with West Ham this week, it's a great move. Long term, I don't fancy it, but not a bad move at all, Arian. And Sarr to Wilson, which is a move that I'd be happy making. So overall, the moves, I would say 8 out of 10. And I think you've been aggressive there and attacked the fixtures. Bruno, I feel like he's a must-own into these game weeks, and same with Bukayo Saka. So I completely understand why you've made those moves, and I quite like him. Would you start Richards or Mukiele? First off, my question on that would be, who's your game week 16 captain? If it is Haaland, then I'd easily bench Richards. If it's not Haaland, I would probably still bench Richards. So I would play Mukiele in that instance. Joachim Anderson, the defender. Minted to Szoboszlai. I quite like that move, Jerome. But for me, it just feels a bit, kind of sideways. Szoboszlai is a better asset, for sure. But I just don't like Minted this game week. Thank you, Choi, says Nabbit. He says, really love your content. It really feels refreshing and differential. I hope you have a smashing season and get into the top 1k. I wouldn't write myself off the cards yet. I'm quite confident with the bench boost that I can still do something. Thank you for the kind words. And I've been enjoying making the content equally. And it is very motivating that some positive words of affirmation from you guys. So very kind words. And I am glad to hear that you are enjoying the content. And I'm trying to reel out and pump out the content as much as I can this season. Is Enzo okay to hold for this week? I would say definitely. Likely to play in a more defensive position this week. But to be honest, it wouldn't put me off. Chelsea are currently in a point of time where Enzo is their star player. Everything seems to be going through him, whether or not he's playing deep or not. Some weeks Caicedo has missed out, and Enzo seems to be largely involved. And Enzo's just on a form where he looks great. So I don't think it's bad to hold on to Enzo this week. Good to see you, Kieran, in chat. I'm Natalie Imbruglia right now. I don't know what you mean by that, Kieran. I don't know if I'm missing something. David says, Merry Xmas, thank you for the great streaming. I have one question. Gordon as captain, thank you very, very much. Yeah, Gordon as captain, it would probably not be at all my preference. I think there are probably 5 other assets I'd rather captain than Gordon. But if your intuition is telling you that there's a gap in the market and, you have your own reasoning to go to a Gordon, why not? Bench 1 of Virgil, O'Reilly, Anderson and Anderson. I'm also in this boat, Zetlin, on whether or not I should bench either Nico O'Reilly or Anderson. Let me tell you where I currently stand first off, and then we'll do a poll on what you guys think. I currently think it is very, very close on whether or not I want to bench Anderson or O'Reilly. I think where I stand, my preference is starting Elliot Anderson over O'Reilly. Now the reason being, again, I'm going to try to give you all the facts that I can, but Nico O'Reilly has started the last 4 games, gotten 90 minutes in all of them. A fast turnaround Wednesday, Sunday, and a hard game versus Crystal Palace. Now, one part of me says, Pep Guardiola is going to want to play his absolute best side going away to Crystal Palace. Palace are no joke, and we know they're a phenomenal team, and Ole Glasner can, put in a performance any singular game week. Pep will be looking at this game going, I need to start my best team, and I don't doubt that. But Palace as an attack, I still feel like will score goals. City, on the other end, haven't particularly been, a phenomenal defence by any means, especially when it comes to an away game. Elliot Anderson, what does he give me? Tottenham at home, which, I feel like Tottenham are starting to pick up some sort of form. You might disagree with that, and I completely understand that. But we're not looking at Elliot Anderson as, particularly an output monster. But what he can guarantee is DEFCON. And you would be comfortable saying that he is going to get DEFCON versus Tottenham at home in this game. And if you're asking me as a Spurs fan, I don't think with how Forest have been in terms of form. I know they got that big win versus Liverpool, but I still feel like Spurs, will be heavy favourites going into this game. And I just look at the upside. Nico O'Reilly probably does provide more upside if you consider he's going to start. It's just whether or not you consider he's going to start. And I think if I go to someone that I really trust in the community, and that is this FPL, you might know him, you might not know him, but Luke is great for City team news going into each game week. He usually does his predictions for who's going to start for City. This week he hadn't quite done it, but what I did catch is in his replies, because I was looking on whether or not, and I wanted to see his opinions, people were asking on whether or not he thought Nico O'Reilly was going to start. And he said, probably is going to start, but this is his riskiest week yet. It is a quick turnaround, and it is Palace, and he'd like to think that it's 65% likely to start, 35% unlikely to start. And when I weigh up that in my mind, again, Luke is someone I do trust in the community in terms of his opinion on City as a whole. Anderson, who is guaranteed to start this game versus Tottenham, and I would almost go as far as to say guaranteed to get DEFCON. If I look at a lot of the players that have got DEFCON versus Spurs, we're not exactly tidy with the ball by any means, so I would say it is likely for Anderson to get DEFCON. If Forest are going to score versus Tottenham, I feel like it is going to come from some sort of set piece, or just catching us off the break with Elliot Anderson. On the other hand, we have O'Reilly getting a 65% chance of starting the game. I am torn. I don't think there is a right answer, lads. So I understand if you are torn between that also. Good to see you, Liam. Good to see you, Spasim. Also, we have Sudindra. He says, start one of Anderson, Cash, Neto, or Wilson, or Rogers on free help. I would start Anderson. I would start Anderson for sure. And I would probably also start Neto. Let me end the Saka poll. Good to see 66% are on Saka. Okay. I hear you now, Kieran. I'm also hungover. So, torn lyrics, cold, naked, lying on the floor. You poor fucker, Kieran. I actually looked at your Twitter and I saw your poor sequence of events. But let's do a poll. Who would you start this game week? I'm intrigued. Let's do... Who would you start? And let's do Elliot Anderson. And Nico O'Reilly. I feel like it is 50-50, lads. I genuinely I'm very torn. Wielding Shark says, thoughts on Lewis Potter on a free hit. I actually quite like it. Differential first, but I just feel like Collins, if you can stretch to it on a free hit, would, it's not exactly... I would say Collins is as equally as differential as a Lewis Potter. There's not going to be many people on a Collins. Same with Seth Vandenberg. But yeah, Potter does provide some decent attacking threat. I would just prefer Collins for his capability of getting DEFCON. Yeah, it does sound like a dream, Jamie. I wouldn't even look at it like that. We're getting to the point in the season where it looks like Nico O'Reilly is just going to play beside the striker. Every time I look at him, he's in and around the 6-yard box. He is very, very attacking, lads, and he's hard to bench. Would you start Anderson or Kieran Dewsbury Hall? I would definitely start Anderson in that case. Surely Saka comes off after the 60 minutes, so captaincy is a risk. Yeah, I suppose, but Saka in 60 minutes with Wolves at home can do so much damage that, I actually wouldn't mind that. Thoughts on Welbeck to Raul and start Barnes ahead of Minsa? I don't think I would be doing Welbeck to Raul. I mean, if you have to start one of them this week and you've nothing else to do, sure, I don't mind it. But, next week, you could argue Welbeck is better than Raul. Please try Elliot Anderson or Harry Wilson. To be honest, I feel like that is, there's also no right answer to that. And again, not to sit on the fence, but I feel like they're both good assets in their own right. I feel like Elliot Anderson is probably your long-term move there. Again, one that's just going to tick away so nicely over the next run of games. No matter who he's playing against. Was on the fence between Collins and Potter, and I agree. Can't really go against the DEFCON. Exactly, Wheel and Shark. And there's not really much in it. Sure, you could go with the attack and threat, but as easily, Collins can get DEFCON. And if he gets DEFCON and a clean sheet, it's going to be a bigger score than probably a GA and a clean sheet. It's occurred to me that Haaland could potentially be a differential captain at the end of this week. I would say, Anto, it is one of those things where we're always going to see what people are going to do when we look at the community. And it can make us think that Saka is probably going to be more owned than what he's probably going to be. But if you're asking me right now, and I'm going to put this in stone, I expect Haaland to still be 165% effective ownership this week. And Saka might just hit it around 100% this week. In and around there. So, therefore, there is still lots of gain if you do go with a Saka. For example, if you captain Saka, it's going to be 100% on the field. If you captain Haaland, it's probably going to be 40% on the field. So I do feel like Saka in his own right. And, in the larger engaged community, you're going to see it a lot more that people are going with Saka. But for me, I think Saka, is definitely still differential, especially when you look at ownership. Which player would you buy instead of cash? Probably a Joachim Andersen and Hincapié. I feel like Piero Hincapié is, a great option. And I'm very happy to be able to, go to a player like him. Why I feel like I'm very happy to go with the bench boost is because, this week, a lot of people will be put off Hincapié because they don't have a lot of depth on the bench. You might have a Mukiele, perhaps, and you might be scared of a Gabriel coming back from injury. What I would say on Gabriel coming back from injury.
Hi Chai, my nerd side is in dilemma about Saka or Haaland captain and wondering if Saka C fails and Haaland hauls and if Haaland C fails and Saka hauls.
Aryan, with another super chat. Thank you, Aryan. Much love. He says, hi Chai, my nerd side is in dilemma about Saka or Haaland as captain. I'm wondering if Saka captain fails and Haaland hauls, and if Haaland captain fails and Saka hauls. Well, I guess that's the question, Aryan. It is quite tight this week. I think projections will have Saka higher than Haaland this week, and I think rightly so. I think the correct decision, if we're looking at from, who has the highest capability of getting the most points, it is Saka. We can never account for the outcome, and you can't be disappointed by the outcome. If you go with your decision with Saka because you think he's the best captain, then leave it at that. You make your bed and you lie and you go, okay, I went with Saka because I think he's the best captain, and you won't look into it based on the outcome. Haaland could easily get a hat trick. I say easily, okay, maybe not easily, but no one would write him off about getting a hat trick this week. Whereas Saka just has so many routes to points. It could come down to a penalty versus Wolves at home. It could come down to him hitting DEFCON randomly again, as we know he can do. Or getting bonus points in a game where he hasn't even returned. I just feel like Saka's upside, whereas Haaland has to return in order for him to be anywhere near bonus or getting a high point score this game week. Saka just has so many routes, and Wolves have just looked that poor, where I'm not trying to overthink it, and I'm happy to go with Saka. Hi, Troy, do you prefer Semenyo or Raul? I prefer Semenyo. Would you triple captain Saka this week, or would you wait to use it on Ekitike? I've actually not heard anyone, Liam, thinking to use it on Ekitike. That's actually really interesting. I would say my preference would be Erling Haaland with West Ham next game week, out of all the captains to come. But if I was looking to go differential, you have Saka triple captain this game week, and you also have Ekitike, which, now that you say it, sounds really good. Would you take either Semenyo or Rice to Bruno Fernandes? I would go Rice to Bruno. I feel like Semenyo with Burnley at home next week is really, really nice. Do you choose your captain based on your rank, or who do you think will be the best option this week? Yeah, this is a great question. I think it's really misinterpreted, not only by the FPL community, but people who watch me. I feel like a lot of people think that I try to be different for the sake of it. And I couldn't be more far from the truth. How I pick my captaincy on a week-to-week basis, it really comes down to who I think is the best captain. And again, I really come back down to the roulette analogy. I will always pick the best captain each game week. For me, it's Saka because, the upside he has. In other weeks, you might have saw me captain someone else like a Bruno Fernandes, for example, who has, always in my mind, really high upside. Or Mohamed Salah. So, and the way I really quantify how I pick my my captaincy comes down to the roulette board that goes on in my mind. Is always a tug of war on the roulette. If captaincy is split in my mind, where I think there are two options, you have the likes of Erling Haaland or Bukayo Saka. Let's just say, and again, this is not how it works in my mind this week, but let's just say you were really torn between Saka and Erling Haaland, and you genuinely thought Saka is equally as good as Haaland is this game week. Well, then I would put it down to the effective ownership. If I thought two options were as good as each other, I would play the effective ownership. And then I would also look at things like home fixture. That always plays an impact on whether or not I think, an option's good as a captaincy pick. And how the roulette board works for me is, if you go with the less owned player, the reward for him returning is higher. So again, I will always pick the best captaincy option in my mind. So that's how I put that down. Picking my captaincy. Liam says, "Hey Chai, what's up? Any Timber news?" I don't think we're going to get any Timber news by the end of the game with Liam. What I would say is, if he doesn't start this game, I don't think it is likely that he gets subbed on, and therefore I'll probably have a decent benching option myself. But if you're asking me, I would say he's going to start, and the reason I think he's going to start is there's been so much rotation in that back line already. I don't think, with Calafiori also being out, that if Timber is available to play, Arteta will bench him. So I think he's likely to play. And because he was involved in training, I think he's probably fit enough to start. I don't think there's much issue there. Jamie says, Foden double digit gonna hurt you again, Shai. Yeah, he could, and he definitely can. But I am happy to not own him. Well, I say I'm happy to not own him. Of course, I would love to own him. But I don't think it hurts me too much not owning him. If I look at, again, we go to Rob, is it Rob T? Yeah, if we go to Rob T, and we take a look at the top 40 projected goal scorers this week, we have Phil Foden at 40th. There are 39 more players that are expected to get more goals than projected goals than Phil Foden. Now that's always, not going to be the case. But if I'm playing my probabilities, my odds, I fancy my chances to go against Foden this week. At 8.6 million at this current point in time. So don't mind it at all. Good to see you, Anish. How are we? You're going to slap the captaincy on Timber. I think if he was fully fit, it would be in my mind. But again, just because of his question mark, I don't love it. Sell Mateta to who? Beside Haaland and Thiago. Again, it really depends what you're looking for. I don't mind going to an Ekitike if you can stretch it. That would be my preference. Sevid says, Choi, would you do Manoz to Vandenberg, Enzo to Bruno Fernandes, and Anderson to Dewsbury Hall? I wouldn't sell Anderson, I don't think. But Enzo to Bruno Fernandes and Manoz to Vandenberg, definitely good moves. Good to see you, Yusuf. He says, what's better for the next 2 weeks? Foden plus Semenyo or Bruno plus Elliot Anderson? I'm going to say Foden plus Semenyo. But long term, with the likes of United playing Wolves and Leeds, I feel like Bruno will be quite good to have. But yeah, this is definitely a really interesting graph to look at going into the game week. And I think when you look at things like this, it kind of puts a bit of ease back in my mind. Sure, Phil Foden has been great, but how likely is it that he keeps it up? I would fancy my chances. Let's put it that way. And again, that's not to say he's not a good option. It's just a case of playing your odds, and I feel like it's good for this week. Let me quickly pop out chat again, guys. I do apologise. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Pop out chat. This is just so I can see it while you guys are chatting, by the way. Um, Let me pull that back up. Sorry, guys. Liam says gambling that he won't be benched, so either plays or my vice captain. Yeah, I don't mind that, Liam, to be honest. I mean, it is quite bold, bolder than I would even go to, but I can hear it. I mean, Arsenal are just that good at defending, and Wolves are just that bad. I can, 60% clean sheet odds. I'd be all over it. 30k here, says Jose. Very good, Jose. That's an unbelievable position to be in this first part of the season. He says, I'm triple captaining Saka. Best of luck with that. Would you bench Elliot Anderson or Semenyo? I would definitely bench Elliot Anderson. Good luck this week, Yusuf. Rajiv says, do you prefer Semenyo or Raul? I prefer Semenyo. I feel like Semenyo is probably better in a 1 week due to, he's on good form and he has been all season. In comparison to Raul, who I also think is a good option this week, but United defence isn't great. Would you do Minta to Rice with one free transfer? Not this game week, Shums. I don't think it's worth it with the doubts around Rice. If you had told me Rice, was 100% going to start, I think I would be all over it, but not for me. Choi, would you do Enzo plus Virgil to Bruno and Vandenberg? I wouldn't, no. I feel like Virgil is still a good option. Do you think Arsenal's back four in Champions League was a rest run, was a test run, as Arteta knew he would need it today? I don't know, Will. It is really hard to predict Arteta first off. Let's quickly pull up FootMob and take a look at how Arsenal set up in midweek. First off, Hincapié subbed off after 60 minutes, which is, of course, big. Lewis Skelly, of course, played a lot of minutes. Ben White and Christian Jogard playing at centre half, which was interesting. For me, there's a chance, of course, that he does go with something similar, but how likely is it? I don't really see him shifting it too much. I mean, first off, Hincapié has to play. Lewis Skelly also has to play. I think there is also a chance that we don't see White. I feel like White is probably definitely going to play, but I think there is a chance where we see Timber at centre half and White at right back, and I think equally there's a chance that Christian Norgard goes in at centre half and Timber plays at right back. Again, it's just so hard to predict. What I thought was also, it kind of confused me is the fact that Calafiori didn't start this game, but I think it was to get Lewis Skelly up to match fitness. So let's see what happens, and I don't think I'd be confident on predicting what's going to happen, but again, we can only play our odds. I think Saka is a very risky captain. Who says that? Joe. He says, I think back to 5-0 at Leeds, where he got 6 points and was subbed after 60 minutes, whilst Haaland has a capability of scoring a hat-trick and being very damaging. No, you're right. There is a small bit of risk when you go against, the biggest EO captain. But what I would say to that is it works both ways. Sometimes Arsenal will beat Leeds and will win 5-0 and Saka won't be involved. Sometimes Arsenal will win 1-0 and Saka will be involved and he'll get DEFCON max bonus points in a goal. So I don't think I read too much into that, looking at past performances like that. And to be honest, the ideal case scenario is that Arsenal win, let's just say 5-0 and Saka subbed off, because you would fancy Saka to be involved in the goals. Press is locked in. He's gone. We'll save the spicy stuff for next week. 5 free transfers. Very good Press. What I'm actually going to do, because I'm actually locked in, is put my team up on the timeline. And before I forget, because I know I will forget if I don't do it, let's quickly put that up on the Twitter. Here is the team. It is locked in. My game week 16 is locked. Let's put a lock emoji. And let's do my moves. So I've done, why can't I think? Salah to Saka. Let's put a dove emoji. Rip. Tree up Mo Salah. Okay, it just glitched. Let's do that. Let's do Roden to Hincapié. And let's do Gu to Raul. Saka captain. Actually, no, we'll remove that and we'll put the armband here on Saka. Again, sorry guys, bear with me just a second. Setting up a nice bench boost. Game week 17. I'm actually not locked in. Maybe I don't post yet because I'm still a bit indecisive on whether or not I want to go O'Reilly or Anderson. Ooh. Good to see a multi-infinity. I am well. Is Harry Wilson a boy? He's a boy. He's not bad. Enzo replacement for 8.2 million. Antoine Semenyo. Let me put in my overall as well. Just put a world emoji. I am indecisive about whether or not I want to start early. Still torn between Anderson versus O'Reilly. Very happy otherwise. Okay, sorry guys. Let me post that now. Let me quickly scroll to the timeline to make sure we're not going to miss any vital information. By the way, do hit the like button and subscribe, lads. I hope you've been enjoying the content on the channel. Let me quickly pull up how we're doing. We're getting towards the end of the year. Not only year, but we're getting into the second half of the season. And I've been posting quite frequently, and you guys are absolutely smashing it in terms of views and comments and likes on each video. And every single week, I'm seeing the same faces show up for the deadline stream. We are currently on 9.35k subscribers, and I'm loving the content this season, as I am really enjoying it. So if you are, do hit the like button and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. Again, I'm hoping for another big finish this season, and it's just great to have you guys consistently here. Again, none of this would be possible without you guys, and it's a great thing because I get to make these videos, share my thoughts, and you guys for some reason want to listen to me and bounce ideas off me. I don't have Saka, says Gary, and he's terrified. I would also be terrified. I mean, I think out of all the weeks, this is probably the scariest week to not own Saka, especially when you consider the form he's picking up. Spacina's asking Eze or Thiago captain. I mean, in that case, I would just go Eze, but I don't really fancy either of them for captain. I feel like there are 3 or 4 captains who are better. Start Bergen or Dubravka. I would probably just play for Bergen and hope he gets some save points, but I don't think there's much hope in either of them going into this week. Just to answer the question on Xavi Simons and Mohamed Kudus. Again, as you know, I am a Spurs fan. I love to share my thoughts as a Spurs fan because I feel like it comes from a different perspective. Sometimes maybe biased, but you know, I feel like it is sometimes and mostly reasonable. After the Newcastle game, I spoke about how there was an environment change in the Spurs camp after Romero had scored those 2 goals. I spoke about how, you know, it was a big thing that our club captain scored 2 goals and we got a big away result versus Newcastle. The fans were chanting for Vicario's name. Spurs were getting players up to speed, whether it was Xavi Simons, Mohamed Kudus back from injury, Cole Moani making his way back into the team and starting since his jaw injury, Richarlison not in the best of form but still scoring goals, Archie Gray coming back from a calf injury, Romero coming back from injury. I feel like these were things that were not considered, and often when we speak about Spurs, it's just, you know, okay, we've been not great this season, there's been no doubt about that, a lot of inconsistent performances, but there's never been the question raised about the why. If this was any other team, for example, let's just say an Arsenal who have had injuries also, you know, we take things into account. You know, maybe their defence is slightly tampered due to Gabriel coming out of the team and a lot of rotation with the likes of Timber, and also their attack with no Odegaard, and you know, we take these things into account. But I feel like there's a change in Tottenham, and I think when you consider that, with the fixtures that are coming up for Spurs, and the high probability that Mohamed Kudus is on penalties, at 6.5 million, I feel like Kudus does become back into our thinking and he's a good option. Now, is he a better option than the likes of a Bruno Fernandes, Szoboszlai? Probably not. But when you compare him to the likes of a Minta and a Szoboszlai, even at that fact, sorry, he's a decent option, and he's a player who's going to get 80 plus minutes on the weekend for Spurs, week in, week out, and he's a machine. He's a player who's also plays with confidence. I look at him and he's skinning fellas week in, week out, lads. A lot of you guys mightn't watch Spurs, but when he's on it, he is well on it. And, when he adds GA to his tally, it's massive. It is massive for a player like Kudus. And if Spurs are going to score, he's going to be involved, and I've no doubt about that. So definitely one to be considered going into the future. Xavi Simons, on the other hand. I quite like Xavi. I just feel like if his minutes were a bit more secure, I cannot guarantee you that Xavi's going to start most weeks, even though he is on good form. And that is mostly down because, I would say Kudus is probably a fitter player. You wouldn't be surprised to see Kudus start 90 minutes every single game. I would say Frank's thought process would be, though, to take him off in the 80th minute when we have Champions League midweek. In comparison to Xavi, he'd probably miss a start rather than, being hooked off early, which he probably will be hooked off early in most cases. So I would go Kudus over Xavi, but let's see how Xavi's role in the team develops later down the line, and if he continues to pick up on his form that he's gone in recent weeks. Who's your best long-term hold? Anderson, Senesi, or Richards? I would say Senesi, because how good he is at DEFCON and coming back from injury, and with that Burnley fixture next week, is quite good. Have you used triple captain? Deciding if to use it on Saka this week. What are your opinions? My preference would be to use it next week if you still have it. I have indeed used it on Erling Haaland in that Burnley fixture. Choi, could you explain what Dr. Tottenham means? So, okay, yeah, if you're unfamiliar what Dr. Tottenham means, again, us Spurs fans in particular will refer to this. Dr. Tottenham, essentially what it is it is the saying of, if it is ever going to happen, it is going to happen versus Spurs. And we don't say that because it's, pity us, we're Tottenham, whatever. Historically, there has been so many times as a Spurs fan where, the unthinkable has happened, and just absolutely no surprises in, things that are going to happen. Basically being unlucky is what it means. So Dr. Tottenham essentially is, you get a bad taste of your medicine, and if you say like, oh, Brentford could never beat Tottenham and we're going into an international break where we always do really badly, well, that's Dr. Tottenham striking again. It's just a saying by Spurs fans. Salah on free hit, probably not for me. I don't expect him to start this game. Munoz, Segehi, Cash, or Brentford defender? Brentford defender without a doubt for me. I would go Nathan Collins and I wouldn't think twice about it. Would you consider a bench boost this week? I would consider it, but I feel like it is significantly better next week. Hey Choi, I don't have Saka. Should I captain Haaland, Bruno, or Eze? I feel like those three you named, I'd be more than happy to go with. I would probably lean towards going Bruno or Haaland. If it were me in that situation, I'd probably go Bruno. Again, Bruno, good form, DEFCON, Bournemouth are a team who are expected to concede goals. They've been a bit leaky in recent weeks. Bruno's so good for DEFCON. Crystal Palace being a tougher game away than Bournemouth is at home for United. Debatable that, by the way. When are you bench boosting, Chai? I'm bench boosting in game week 17. Who do you think will win the Premier League season this season? So good to see we have Davis in the chat while we speak about this. Let's actually bring up the Premier League table and speak over it. If you're genuinely asking me right now, Arsenal are still favourites. Definitely still favourites. And I don't think there's much debate about that. But now, like last week or 3 weeks ago, I would have told you Arsenal have won the league. But it's getting to the crunch time part of the season. And I just feel like one more bad performance out of Arsenal. And if there's any point in time where City overtake Arsenal, off the back of an Arsenal loss, I feel like Arsenal, not necessarily that they could capitulate. They're too good to capitulate. I think, we're past that. But with the big injuries they've had, and with City just so familiar with the league and winning it, and Pep just knowing how to churn out results, I actually feel like I am 50-50. I could see Arsenal win the league. I could see City win the league. Some part of me goes because how good Pep is. All it takes is one more poor result for Arsenal, and City are way back in it. And I say way back in it, way back to come favourites. Let me know in chat. Let's do a little poll. O'Reilly actually won that last poll. 60% will be starting him. I feel like there's a lot of bias though since the Real Madrid goal. I feel like it would be a bit tighter if he hadn't scored that goal. Maybe that's just my own personal opinion. Who do you have for the league then? Let me know, chat. Let's do, of course, Arsenal and City. Arsenal. I think the more interesting question this week is who's getting top four. I mean, you look at the top four now is Arsenal, City, Villa, Crystal Palace. Again, I know we talk about top five now, but let's just say top four for the time being. Arsenal and City top two, without a doubt for me. You probably would expect Liverpool to still come back. That leaves one space for the top four in fourth, and you probably put Chelsea there. I just feel like this season's league has been so competitive. Too close to call. Need to see a couple more games yet. I agree, Fracture. I don't have a, I wouldn't have a confident bet. I genuinely would put it 50-50 in my eyes. I've got Virgil van Dijk this game week. Hold or sell to another defender. Hosham, hold without a doubt for me. Start either Welbeck or Anderson. Given no Liverpool defence owned, I would go Anderson. What are your thoughts on Gordon? He's okay. Streaky player, but I don't fancy him. Is Timber going to start? I'm going to say he does. Again, I wouldn't be surprised not to see him start though. Alright, let's do a little scroll in the timeline. Make sure we're not missing anything. Yeah, no, it definitely matters for O'Reilly scoring in the week for his confidence. But, for me, what it comes down to is people picking O'Reilly this week because he had scored. If he hadn't have scored, I feel like a lot less people would be bringing him in with Crystal Palace away, I feel. If you know what I'm saying. Chai, who was the best replacement for Cody Gakpo? Antoine Semenyo was the best replacement for Cody Gakpo. Start Burn or O'Reilly. In that case, I would start O'Reilly. Burn, because he's Newcastle true and true. I could see a yellow card, or even a red in this game. We haven't had this derby in a while, so I would bench Burn. I'm actually playing with the idea of starting O'Reilly, lads, in my mind. Opinions on differentials in Leffy and Wilson. I mean, I don't mind them. Again, I just don't. I'm not particularly sold on him, if you know what I mean. I also wouldn't mind if I didn't have him in my team, if you know what I mean. As an 8 attacker, yes, not bad at all. Alright, I'm going to do a little scroll on the timeline. Do get your questions in, lads. Let's see, did anyone say anything about who would they bench? I don't think so. Alright, another little refresh on the timeline. How is this poll doing? 50-50 the poll is. That's great to see. Do vote on that poll, lads. I am interested to see what you're saying. Personally, I think starting O'Reilly this week over Anderson is a bit mad. You think so, Davis? Why would you? I don't think it is mad at all. You personally think starting O'Reilly this week over Anderson is a bit mad. Yeah, why do you think that? Because again, I currently have all week have said Anderson over O'Reilly, but now the more I think of it, I can understand why you would start O'Reilly. Ian says, is it worth getting rid of Munoz? He's first bench and someone in case Timber doesn't start. I would absolutely get rid of Munoz. And Nat says, I don't think he'll be starting I don't think I'll be starting Saka since he's going to be subbed early, or won't start because of Noni. I don't know about that. I don't really see a world in which Saka's benched. I just don't think so. O'Reilly either gets 2 or 7 points. I'm 90% confident Elliot Anderson gets 4 points again. Yeah, in most case scenarios, you would say that. But let's just okay. O'Reilly can get 2 or 7. I would agree with that. Okay, maybe I don't agree with that. I feel like 1 attack and return, and he's on for max bonus and a clean sheet. But 1 attack and return for Elliot Anderson. He's on DEFCON and an attack and return, and he automatically puts him in the bonus. In most weeks, if he gets an attack and return, he's getting bonus, which is usually around an 8 or 9 pointer. I just believe Palace score. So it comes down to chances between Anderson clean sheet versus an O'Reilly attack and return. Prefer the clean sheet odds. No. It's not Joachim Anderson Davis. It's Elliot Anderson who the debate is over. Not Joachim. Apologies if I've caused some confusion. As I'm absolutely starving, I've not eaten anything today. Cole Palmer should be. Cole Palmer, should I be thinking of bringing him back into my team? I don't think so. It's just not the week for me yet. And again, I just think people forget, Cole Palmer, he didn't leave off exactly great. So, I don't think it's great. Okay, nothing interesting on the timeline. Cole Palmer, I've activated my triple captain. Do you suggest Saka or Mbeumo or Thiago? This game week, definitely Bukayo Saka. How does triple captain sound in Bukayo? Sounds good. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense, Davis. I was getting confused for a second. NX says, well, shy lad, would you do these 4 transfers? Nick Pope to Verbergen, Konate to Anderson, Reinders to Bruno Fernandes, and Mateta to Calvert-Lewin. In this situation, DCL would be my 7th forward, most likely to bench most game weeks. So, therefore, saying he's going to be your 7th forward, that means playing 4 at the back most weeks, I assume. I don't like the moves of bringing in Verbergen, particularly this game week. I don't really like Konate, or going from Konate to Anderson. I feel like it is quite sideways, even though Anderson is good this week. Konate is actually better long term. Reinders to Bruno Fernandes, very, very good move. Mateta to Calvert-Lewin kind of feels sideways as well. I'll be honest, those moves don't fill me with a lot of hope. I think this week you'll be chasing some decent upside, but long term, I don't fancy that particularly, NX. FPL Jinx says, any Chelsea fans in the chat, will Mark Guy get some minutes this game week? I personally think it is likely that Guy gets some decent minutes. Do you think it is a bad shout to captain Eze? No, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I would say there's 5 better options than him. Who is the most sold player and most bought player this game week? The most bought player this game week is going to be... who is the most bought player? I feel like I should know it without even looking, but let's take a look. Who is the most bought player this game week? Select replacement. Let's do transferred in. Transferred in. Am I reading that right? There are 7. I must be doing something wrong here. Hold on. That has to be glitched. Most transferred in player, Semenyo. Is that transferred out? Is that glitched? This is overall, not just this game week. Why is it showing me overall? I don't care about overall. Sorry, I'll get back to you. Foden, it has to be Foden. I was just going to say, Foden has to be up there. Anyway, we'll get back to that. Maybe chat can tell us. What do you think of Rodgers as a 1 week punt? I mean, he's not bad, but I don't think Villa have necessarily been astounding from an attacking point of view. So I don't love it. Johnny Boy says, how are you, Sean? I'm good. Bench either Evan Nilsson, Welbeck, or Yermi. I think I would have to bench Yermi in that case. Saka not even in the top 5 yet. That is pretty mad considering he's the best option this week. 3 biggest regrets this season. Transferring in Mo Salah in game week 8. Captain Mohamed Salah in game week 14. And Captain Mohamed Salah in game week 15. Or not game week 15. 13 and 14, sorry. Ideal free hit team. Okay, let's quickly make a free hit. I'm actually going to fly through this because I know what I would be free hitting. If I was free hitting, this is what I would roll with. I would play a 3-4-3. I would have Hugo Ekitike for sure. I wouldn't think twice about having Ekitike. I would actually have probably Verts. When I talk about differentials and when I look at eye test players, I think Verts has been quite good. And it's just another way to differentiate myself even more away from Dominic Szoboszlai. I would definitely go Hincapié, and I'd actually probably go Lewis Skelly. I actually just wouldn't bother wasting the worry of Jurrien Timber. I would actually play Alisson. Again, you're not going to like this, but I would double up on Alisson Van Dijk. And the reason I would do this is because, therefore I'm back in the Liverpool. Oh, actually, I can't do that. Sorry, I'm tweaking. I would still actually back. Nah, actually, in that case, because of budget, I'd actually just go Anderson. And on goal, I'd probably. I don't love the idea of going Sanchez because you can chase the upside with doubling up on players, but I think in this case you do go Sanchez because of the fixture. So we got Sanchez, 3 to back with Lewis Skelly, Anderson, Hincapié. And then we go with one more midfielder. Who am I missing? I'm definitely missing someone big that I would definitely have. Let me quickly look. Semenyo, Foden, Mbeumo, Ndiaye, Eze, Dango. Probably go with something like that. Again, it is hard because you're going against some of the obvious ones, but yeah, Collins would be very close to getting in this team. Otherwise, you can go Collins, play 4-3-3. Again, this is what I would do because my risk appetite is really high, and again, I would want to do something different on a free hit. What you're going to see on a lot of free hits is Phil Foden, for example, which is the safe play. I quite like that. You'd see Szoboszlai instead of Verts. I get that. You'd probably see Noah Ekitike. You might see more Saka and Eze's, which is chasing upside, which I quite like. But I would probably be going somewhere closer to this, I would say. Very risky, but very high upside if it goes right. Hey Chai, have Collins and Anderson in draft mode. Would you rather have Tete or Van den Berg as your fourth defender? Double Fulham versus Brentford. I would rather have Van den Berg. This week I'd rather have Tete. Is KDH an okay pick for this game week? I mean, he's alright, but again, he's another one that this game week doesn't fill me with too much joy. Thoughts on Mano's, Delict, Gordon, the Collins, Joachim Anderson and Saka. They're phenomenal moves and I wouldn't think twice about them. Ben White, surely Chai. Jono, I don't know about Ben White. He played a lot of minutes midweek, and what if he goes Njorgaard centre half, Timber right back, Hincapié left sided centre half and Lewis Skelly left back? I think you have to account for that, especially with the large amount of minutes Ben White got midweek. But if you told me he was definitely going to start, I like it. Thanks, Shy, for the free hit. Yeah, also Tatton, I wouldn't copy that free hit because I don't think it's the best one. It's just what I would do. The best one ultimately comes down to your own opinions and how much different it is to your current team. Would you do Minoz to Hincapié, Minsa, Saka, and Gyökeres to Guy? Yes, I would. Alright, let's do another little scroll on the timeline. By the way, do hit the like button, and if you aren't already subscribed, lads, do smash the button. I'm assuming if you guys are here, a majority of you are subscribed, but do hit it if you aren't already. Let's see if we can get anything before the deadline. I think it's very unlikely that we do. Lads, I actually can't wait to eat some food. I'm so hungry. Gonna have my usual avocado on toast with 5 eggs. Lads, breakfast. What do you guys have for breakfast? I love this question because I feel like it says a lot about your character. What do you guys have for breakfast? Hit me. Are you someone who goes optimal, or do you go with something boring like porridge? Every single morning I have my 5 eggs, 1 toast, black coffee. Do you think I should captain Saka or Haaland at 1.3 million rank? Rank is largely irrelevant to me on who I would captain. I would captain the best captaincy option this week, and for me, it is Saka. Overnight oats and a coffee. Love that, Davis. What do you put on your oats? So that's the real question. Is it berries? Is it honey? How many grams of oats? Is it a cup? Is it half a cup? And how do you have your coffee? These are all things that matter for an optimum breakfast. Coffee and toast. Darren is saying is as important on what your coffee is and how you eat it. Yusuf says, I make the Turkish dish called Kalilber. Garlic yogurt base. A garlic yogurt. That is crazy. 5 poached eggs and a spicy butter and parsley up top. I love that, Yusuf. But for me, breakfast has to be seamless to make. That sounds like a lot of work for a breakfast. Spacine doesn't have breakfast. NX says fried egg and porridge and a black coffee. Love that. Anto has toasted bagel, orange juice and coffee. Love that. Favorite captain, Gary's asking, other than Bakayo. For me, it would be Bruno. Overnight oats, boiled eggs and coffee. That is such a solid breakfast, Avi. Ian says scrambled eggs, sourdough and turkey smoked slices. Someone is in the gym, Ian. Let me know if you are in the gym. Coffee and a cookie. Nice one, Jono. Sell Minta or Bruno G? What's the better long term? Long term, Minta is better. Sarsenesi or Alderete? I would Sarsenesi. Omelette and toast with black coffee. All time favourite. Yeah, I'd be very similar, Soul. Boiled eggs and mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes for breakfast. Let me quickly go to that breakfast that who was it? Yusuf said Kilber. I'm interested to see what this is. I need to try this one day. Kilber, popular Turkish breakfast dish. That looks really, really good. I must try that one time. Yusuf, you'll have to send me on a recipe. What's the best week to use for it? Again, team dependent. Really depends. Toast with spinata? What is spinata? Spinata. Ah, gotcha. Cured meat. Sounds good. Please, Raul or Dango? Who to start? Dango. Then a protein shake after a morning workout. Overnight oats contain honey, chocolate chips, peanut butter, chia seeds and Greek yogurt, and a big bowl, probably 800 calories with a cappuccino. That is a high calorie breakfast, Davis. Someone is on the bulk, my boy. Good stuff. H, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, Ishank. Good to see you in this evening. What's your take on Rice and Timber starting? Shall I beef up the bench to be safe? I'm more likely. I think it's more probable that Timber starts than Rice in my mind. Would I beef up the bench in case one of them doesn't start? Again, it really depends who your bench is. If you had a Rodin, I'd be more than happy to have him off the bench. KNG says, hey Shai, I'm planning on opening an FPL channel. Any advice? So first off, this is a great question, and I feel like I'm, a good person to ask this question because I'm still relatively small, and I have to look at how I plan on growing my channel. My advice for you would be your authentic self. That would be my one biggest piece of advice. Again, I'm a bit different, and I think if I had started from zero, I was fortunate enough to be second in the world, and my channel grew exponentially because of that. It is always, though, and this comes down to everything in life, you have to take your opportunity when it comes. I fell into making FPL content. It is not something that I wanted to do. I've always watched FPL content, and I was once just a viewer, just like you guys. I would watch your Let's Talk FPL, your Harry, your Raptor, Gianni, whoever it is, and Oscar. So I understand as a viewer what I might want, and you really have to put yourself into those shoes. So as a viewer, and I really put this down to, if I'm looking to grow a channel, what would I be looking for? Well, I would be looking to engage with the person in chat. There's nothing better than having your name read out by someone who is streaming and having your question, thoughtfully answered. That is always something that's great. So you need to give back to the chat first off, if you have a chat. consistency is always one of the big things, and that was my pitfall. The thing I done the worst was my consistency. What I done well was taking case of opportunity. You know, when I was doing well, I really pushed my content. And the third thing would be, and this is probably one of the singular most important things, not just if you're looking to make content, but I would say generally, FPL is a game of debate. You know, there is no singular right answers. It is really a game of opinions. Therefore, there is no right answer. So do not try to be a know-it-all. No one, I think particularly in the FPL community, likes a know-it-all. I can never tell you that you're wrong if you want to do something. I can always tell you what I would do. And that's what I always do. When you guys ask me your questions, I go what I would do. And you can tell me I'm wrong. Ultimately, if you tell me I'm wrong, I would say sure. Like, your opinion is just as valid as mine. And because FPL is not a direct science, you're bloody well right. I could be wrong. So, again, it is, you know, it's always good to debate. And there are no right answers. But do not try to be a know-it-all. And I'll stand by that. And I think that's why I've, you know, had the opportunity to grow my channel. Because it's always been about discussion. Not about me telling you guys you're wrong. But I'll always have my preferences. And I'll always stand firm on my preferences. But yeah, that's how I would grow a channel. No worries, Clive. And there you go. You know, you have people who are more grateful for getting their questions answered, and it's a big thing. Like, if I was commenting in someone's stream, I would want my question answered. You know. And again, I do apologize if I can't get back to all your questions. Why is no one considering White? I don't know, Martin. I guess out of everyone who has played midweek, why would you go Ben White, who was worse long term than the likes of Hincapié? And he also played 81 minutes. Hincapié is also better for DEFCON. Should I use my 5th transfer to get Hincapié for Timber? I don't know if that's worth making a move. I'd probably just hold on to Timber in that case, Mahmoud. Should I bench Livramento with Sunderland at home, Van Dijk with Brighton at home, or Van Heck with Liverpool away? I would be benching Livramento and Van Heck. Start Chow or Thiago? What would you suggest? I would definitely bench Chow. I don't even know how to ask the question. Someone asked me a question about what religion I am. And again, I don't really like going into these questions because, to be honest, they probably do more harm than good. Again, first off, for anyone who is religious, I do admire you. You know, it is great to practice something and to have beliefs, first off. So I would say, you know, it's great to believe in something. Secondly, I would say I'm not atheist, but I would say I'm agnostic. So what that means is I would never consider myself religious if I do not practice it. And that's not to say you're not if you don't practice it. But, you know, I grew up with a lot of Christians. Again, being in Ireland, my parents would be... FPL is your religion. My parents would have been, you know, Buddhist, coming from Hong Kong / Malaysia. People are harmful, not religion. Exactly, Martin. So it is all about, you know, perspective. So therefore, you know, when I say I'm agnostic, what I mean by that is, you know, I would never say anyone's beliefs are wrong. Again, similar to FPL. If you believe in something, go for it. And if that helps you with your day, or you truly believe that, I'm never going to say anyone's wrong. But for me, and with my personal beliefs, and as I grow older, being agnostic, what it means is, you know, I've not had the proof in my life for me to believe in anything. And until then, I can't say that I am any religion. And I'm more than happy to be proved wrong, if you know what I mean. And again, religion is just another one of those things where, you know, if you didn't like FPL, I would also never try push you to be into FPL. If you were interested though, I would tell you everything I know about FPL. And if you wanted to know more about it, I would tell you what I know. But I would never push it on someone, if you know what I mean. So, what am I? I'm agnostic, but for whatever you believe, great. And let me know in chat. I am interested. Do you practice your religion? And if so, what religion are you? I already have Bruno, but I'm also thinking about getting Kuna. I love that. I think Kuna's great long term. I believe that every human believes in a creator. It is encoded with us by the creator. And that's fair enough, Martin. I can hear that. Raul or Thiago, if you can only get one. I mean, Thiago, but at this current price point, we're starting to get to a point of the season where Raul is much cheaper than Thiago. So I think this particular game week, it is very 50-50. Fahim is also agnostic. Is Minta a sell? I don't think he's particularly a sell. He's a hold. Will Lewis Kelly start? I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. Captain Eze over Haaland and Saka. Yes. I mean, no is the answer. But it is bold. Should I sell Rice? I don't think I would be selling them, no. What do you think about Shirky? I mean, what a player. As an FPL asset, though, I just don't think I'd go there over, a Foden, for example. I'm also on bench boost 17. Is it worth taking out Sanchez for Keller? No, I don't think so. Have you considered O'Reilly over Joachim Anderson and start both O'Reilly and Elliot Anderson? No, I haven't, Zetlin. It really comes down to O'Reilly versus Elliot Anderson. Why not play Minta? He could perform well versus Liverpool with how they're defending. I think Liverpool get a clean sheet in this game. Liverpool have looked not bad from a numbers perspective, and I think they could go on a run of clean sheets. Choi, you know how to test that, lol. Watch my person on the brink of and watch how they'll start praying. Yeah, but that is not everyone. That just might be the people you're surrounded with. Wilson or Raul? Raul, penalties. VVD or O'Reilly? VVD, Defcon. Would you take a punt on Semenyo for 17 and 18 and then go for Kuna in 19? Absolutely I would. And I really would like that if I could get there. If you can't afford Raya, who would your top 3 goalkeepers be? I don't know if Raya is currently top 3 because, again, you have to consider price points. Genuinely, though, I feel like Alisson next week is slipping into my minds as one of the top keepers. Again, it's why I own him, because I feel like the fixtures are that good. Secondly, I feel like one of the budget ones from next week on, like a Kelleher this week, is quite good. Lewis Potter or Joachim Anderson on free here. Joachim Anderson. Senesi or O'Reilly. Bench 1. Senesi. White or Hincapié from nose? Hincapié. As an Arsenal fan, I'm not Captain Saka. He'll get subbed 50-60, says Martin. Yeah, but he can do some damage in that 50-60. I actually also think he'll be subbed at 65, I think. Fahim says, Choi, are you a full-time YouTuber or do you do something else apart from YouTube as well? I'm actually less than part-time YouTube. I mean, I think I would love to be full-time at one point, but I have a full-time job. I work 40 hours a week, Monday to Friday. I do FPL, 2 vids, 2 recorded vids midweek. Usually it's Monday and Thursday, and I do a deadline stream on a Saturday. So 3 vids a week and full-time job. But yeah, no, it is interesting. I'm by far nowhere near in a position to ever go full-time in FPL. I have Welbeck, so I can get Raul, but I plan to bench boost in 17. Welbeck has Sunderland. Should I just go for Wilson? I don't mind it, Anjan. I'm not going to convince you to do it, though. Yeah, that's interesting, Maliki. Start one of Byrne, Mukiele, or Richards. That's tough. I almost feel like you have to go Byrne in that situation. Again, no definitive right answer for me. Let's do another little scroll on the timeline. We have half an hour until the deadline is up. Do get your questions in and do hit the like button and subscribe. Let's get the likes over 120 likes if we can. Okay, still nothing interesting on the timeline. By the way, lads, my team value is slowly starting to get up finally this season. Again, this week has made for a lot of team value rises. We currently have 101.9 team value and 0.6 in the bank. Again, 102.5 isn't exactly high, but for considering how low mine was, is quite good. Is Trossard going to start? Desi, it's quite hard to say with Noni Madueke playing so well. I actually cannot give you a good answer there. Good to see you, Irish Pitter. He says, big up Choi. Start Gahey or James Tarkovsky? I would start James Tarkowski. Minta or Welbeck, I would take the man on penalties for me. Choi, 2 questions. Which City defender to replace Minoz? I would go Nico O'Reilly. Start 2. Start Wilson or Gee? I would start Wilson.
Hey Chai. Hope you're doing well. Keep Gordon, as and VVD or Van Hekasaka, Foden for -4.
Jordan sends me £5. Thank you for the super chat, Jordan. That's very kind of you. Again, really, really appreciate you supporting the channel. And by the way, I would say if you are going to support the channel, I would recommend becoming a member. Reason being, again, it's the same money and you get to join my WhatsApp group. Again, nothing gate kept in the WhatsApp group, but just another fun way to support the community and be a bit more involved with myself. But again, thank you, Jordan. And to answer your question, he says, hey, Shai, hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I actually really enjoying the stream, and it's good to be back doing the stream. He says, keep Gordon, Eze, and Virgil van Dijk, or Van Heck, Saka, Foden for a -4. It's very, very, very hard for me to answer this, Jordan. And the reason is because, first off, a -4 this week, I can't justify it because we've been given 5 free transfers. You know, it is hard for me to sit here and go, use 6 transfers this week. Also, Gordon, Eze and Virgil van Dijk are quite good this week. I know on paper they don't look great with the likes of Sunderland and Brighton, and Eze, you know, being less good as Saka. But in a week where I think you can risk it, I think you can go against Van Heck, Saka and Foden. Saka less so because of captaincy, but I think you can be safe enough if you can nail your captaincy on someone else other than Saka. So to answer your question, Jordan, I would hold off, personally, if it was me, because I wouldn't be keen on taking a hit, and try nailing the captaincy on someone else. But yeah, it's going to be hard. It's hard to answer that question, and those are some good moves. And thank you for the super chat, Jordan. Appreciate you. Maximilian has almost 103.3 team value. That's very good. No weirdos allowed in the WhatsApp group, says Maliki. Would you do Timber to Hincapié? Mr. Yala's asking. I wouldn't do that. Brokey says, hi Chai, I'm bottom of the meat and cheese feast league. I don't know what that is. Again, so please help me. Which Arsenal mid would you buy if you had 7.1 million to spend and already have Saka, and why please? Well, you're not really giving me much option here. There are no options other than Declan Rice at 7.1 million. I would not go to a Noni Madueke, and you can't afford Erebesh Eze. So I don't think there is much of a question here. I mean, the only option is Rice, but I wouldn't bring him in this week because potential missing out due to illness. Captain Bruno or Rice? I would captain Bruno in that case. Wesley says, hey man, love the content. Thank you, Wesley, for the kind words. He says, Enzo, Gakpo, Mateta, Minoz, Sasaka, Wilson, Thiago and Anderson. Or Gakpo, Mateta, Guy, Minoz, Ekatike, Thiago, Wilson and Anderson. I feel like I would get Saka in my team, Wesley, so I'd go the first option. Start Volamade or Kudus? I would start Kudus. I fancy Spurs this week. Keep up the good work, says Fahim. Considering you're not a full-time YouTuber, I respect that you put out the videos for us. Yeah, no worries. I try my best. And it's a good thing to consider, you know. If you consider the fact, you know, I don't put as much time as I probably should with my full-time job into the videos. You know, you have to give me a small bit of benefit of the doubt when you sometimes see mistakes in the graphics or, you know, videos being late or timing not being there. But I do try my best, lads, and I do enjoy making the content, so it's great to hear that you are enjoying it. Would you pick Petrovic or Dubravka? This week I would go Petro. I am Twan says start KDH or Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk. Roden or Gahey first bench in case of Timber. Ooh, that's a tough one. I would go Roden. In Buemo or Sabo on free hit. I'd probably go Sabo. Hasham says, Chai, I love your content. Stuck between holding Virgil van Dijk or selling. I would definitely hold on to Virgil van Dijk, lads. Henry says, Madueke is starting according to leaks. I don't know what leaks you have, but do at me on Twitter if you have something. I don't think we've got that in concrete though. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Again, we will frantically be refreshing the timeline to see if we can get anything. Marwin says, for me, you are the best FPL content creator because you don't like the template like in all of Twitter. Again, really kind words, Marwin. And that's one of the biggest things I hear when people talk about my channel. It's about how I don't usually do what most of the guys on on other YouTubers do. But for me, it comes down to my beliefs. I really go with what I think. It really doesn't matter to me what my rank is, because again, I'm always trying to make the rank better. I'm never going to play it safe because I don't know what that means. For me, there is no playing it safe. If I think a player is going to score more points than the safe player, I'm going to go with the non-safe player. But yeah, thanks for the kind words. Ekatige is a good shout, Wes, for sure. Johan says, good luck this week, Chai. Any chance you can rate my bench boost? Reply to your post, FPL Joe. Let's quickly pull up FPL Joe's post. That's why we are here, says Downtown. Good to hear it, Downtown. What we're going to do in just a second, by the way, we have 134 you guys in here. We might give away some channel memberships if we can hit 150 viewers. So if we get 150 viewers in here, we'll give away 5 memberships if I can. FPL Joe, let's see what your bench boost is saying. I don't see a Joe. People are saying about Madueke starting. Where are you hearing this? Let's actually look up Noni Madueke. Noni Maduki. Let's go latest. Okay, again, nothing on the timeline about Madueke that I can see anyway. Again, that's 20 minutes until the end of the stream. Get your questions in. We have 147 here. Okay, almost at 150 mark, lads, again. And we'll give away some memberships. Thank you for answering. Keep up the good work. As always, Richarlison is a punt. I prefer Colin Moani. I'm free hitting this week as Yokra is being overlooked. I don't know how likely it is to start. Oh, my man, Maliki. Maliki with the 5 gifted memberships. Absolutely legendary stuff for Maliki. I was just about to give 5, and Maliki's only gone and done it. So, okay, it looks like we're going to be giving away 10 memberships. So, congratulations and thank you to Maliki, to Janice, Fahim, who was just bigging up the channel, Irish Pitter, who was also bigging up the channel, Jordan, and Rob Drums. Do show yourself in chat, and we'll be giving away another 5. So, in order to get yourself involved to win a channel membership, what I want you to do is hit the like button and subscribe if you aren't already. And spam W in chat. So spam W in chat, lads. And then we'll get back to some of your questions. So, let's give away some channel memberships. And thank you to Maliki, who, again, I can't thank Maliki enough. I mean, that's too kind, Maliki, to be supporting us like that. But you're too good. And thank you. And congratulations to the guys who have won one. So, get your W's in chat, do the like button and subscribe. Congratulations, Fahim, and I hope you're going to enjoy the content to go in future. And best luck for the straw. We're going to leave this roll on for a few minutes. You have to subscribe to be able to get a membership, and Amar has just hit the button. Let me answer a question while you guys are spamming W's. Brokey says, what are your views on Marino? Would you choose him over Royce as a budget 7.1? No, he got too many minutes midweek for me. I don't think so. Spam W's in chat, lads, for a chance to be able to win a membership. Thinking about free hitting any other weeks that are better. This is a pretty good week to free hit. I also quite like game week 18 with Liverpool. Yeah, and W Maliki in particular. I'll leave this play out for a few minutes, and I'll scroll through Twitter to see and make sure we're not missing anything. I would go Colin Wani over Richarlison. Just to know, I'm capping Mo, says Janice. That is bold, man. That is bold. Alrighty then. Let's gift another 5 memberships, and best of luck to anyone involved. So, memberships, send 5 now. Best of luck, lads. Congratulations to Aryan, Sushant, Rich, Andrew, and Taylor. Do show yourself in chat if you're here. To the lads that have won it, congratulations, and some familiar names in there. Good to see you win them. And great to have you involved as usual. So that's 10 gifted memberships this stream, lads. Again, do hit the like button and subscribe if you aren't already. It's been a very enjoyable stream so far, and congratulations to those who've won it. Congrats, Andrew. Okay. On that note then, for the last 15 minutes of the stream, let's fly through some questions. Get your questions in, lads. Again, I'm sure there are a good few of you that have some questions. The more I'm thinking of it, lads, ladies and gentlemen, I'm kind of feeling starting early. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really tempted to start early. Ekatike or Watkins on for you? I would go Ekatike. O'Reilly is averaging 7. O'Reilly's averaging actually some decent numbers for DEFCON now that I look at it. 8, 8, 8, 2, 10, 6, 4. Maybe it's just worth starting O'Reilly. Like, I really don't think there's much in this game for Elliot Anderson. I feel like, there's so much more upside with going O'Reilly. It's just whether or not he starts. Fahim says, Choi, is it worth selling Timber to Guardiola or O'Reilly? I don't think so, man. It's not worth selling Timber, I don't think. Thank you, Maliki, again. I do appreciate you, my boy. Shout out, Maliki, man. Always sticking around with us. I'm going to quickly pencil in playing Nico O'Reilly over Anderson. Again, I'm not sold on it just yet. But, again, if I'm starting to get more high on a start for O'Reilly. I think Spurs will win 2-0. Why have you gone Raul? Because I think it's a good opportunity with Burnley and I need to bench boost next game week. Bench Anderson or Semenyo? I would bench Anderson. Dennis. It's Harry Wilson time. Don't mind it. Thanks for the membership. Chai, don't thank me. Thank Maliki also. No worries, Rich. W chat. Volumatic to Raul. I don't think that'd be a move I'd be willing to make. Start Minta or Raul. I would start Raul in a heartbeat. Ekatike starts Anfield Insights. Really? Maximilian. Anfield Insights. It's not coming up my timeline. Again, there's no surprise to see Ekatike start if it is confirmed. Finally here, what did I miss? Welcome, Chris. What you missed was, it looks like I'm going to be playing Nico O'Reilly over Anderson. As things stand, I'm not exactly sold though. Who are the top 3 captains this game week? Bukayo Saka, Bruno Fernandes, and Erling Haaland in that order. Triple captain Saka in 16 or Bruno in 19. I probably would prefer Haaland in 17, to be honest. You tagged me. I don't quite see where you tagged me, Maximilian. White or Lewis as a 1 week punt on free hit? It gotta be Lewis Skelly. Gotta be Lewis Skelly. Do you not like Royce as captain this week? Well, I'm unsure if Royce is 100% going to start. And if he does start, I don't see him getting great minutes this game. There's going to be rotation in this game versus Wolves, I imagine. Would you do Enzo to Saka? Yes. Absolutely I would. Nico, I wouldn't think twice about it either. This emoji's good? Yeah, it is pretty good. Members, spam the emoji that you unlock. I must update those emojis so you get green arrows, red arrows. Maybe we can add some things that are commonly done in chat. Hi Focal. Vinuk, I'm not Oscar today. Today I am the Asian Oscar. Minta to Rice or Verbergen to Rhea. Verbergen to Rhea I prefer as a move, but I'm not mad on Minta to Rice because Minta you have for next week anyway. Why do you bench Anderson? Because I quite fancy O'Reilly if he does start. It's whether or not he starts for me. Should I play KDH or Minta over Virgil? No, I'll be playing Virgil. Minta to Semenyo or Anderson to Sabo? Ooh, that's tough. If it means benching, it doesn't. You must be starting one of them. Minta to Semenyo. When is Mbuemo going to AFCON? I like to think he gets this last game week and he's heading off after this week, after Monday Night Football. You don't fancy Minta versus Poole? No, not particularly when I think they'll clean sheet and I have a Liverpool goalkeeper. Why is Minta last on the bench? Because, okay, yeah, you're right. Why is Minta last on the bench? He should be over Richards because he can get DEFCON. Which for a sub? KDH or Minta? Minta. What do you think Robert is asking about Wilson in Fulham and Ekitike as differentials? Robert, I love that, to be honest. I see no bad in those moves, if you know what I mean. Because one, Wilson is budget. That usually can't go too wrong. And Ekitike, I think, is a great option. Any fun in Mbuemo replacements next week, Mr. Chai? Mohamed Kudus. He's fun. He's probably as fun as it gets. Roden, Mukiele or Richards to start? Cheers. Probably Roden. Would you bench O'Reilly or Bruno G? Probably O'Reilly in that case. Lads, I'm actually going to confirm that move of starting O'Reilly over Anderson. Reason being, the more I think of it, the more I think Pep will likely start O'Reilly. And I'm happy to take the chance that he starts him. And also, I don't think Elliot Anderson is going to get a haul in this game. And therefore, if I only think he's going to get a 4-pointer, why not chase the ceiling of O'Reilly? Reinders to Rice, NX says, and Sabo or Wilson. I raise an argument. Why not just start Reinders this week, perhaps? Or if you can do Reinders to Sabo, I like that. Bench Cucurella or Semenyo? I would bench Cucurella. Actually, would I bench Cucurella? That's a tough one. I don't have an answer for you there. I feel like I would definitely be starting Semenyo over Cucurella, but I would look elsewhere in my team for benching options. Let's do another scroll on the timeline to see if we can get any more information before the end of the stream. And if you, of course you are enjoying the stream, to the 130 of you guys that are in here, do hit the like button again. Really enjoying these, and we are still on the route to 10k subscribers. Oscar is locked in. Marquis, Foden, Timber and O'Reilly locked in for him. Very nice. Rhea, Foden, Thiago and Wilson for Pickle. Very nice. We're going to see a lot of the same moves, and it's going to be a mad week with a lot of mayhem, I imagine. I'm really excited for this game week, says Fahim. Me too. Who are the early kickoffs? Well, I say early kickoffs, the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Chelsea and Liverpool, 2 decent games. Would you start Minta or Elliot Anderson? I would start Elliot Anderson in that case. I don't think Minta gets that in this game. Saying that, not that Liverpool give up the ball too much, but when I look at Minta's DEFCON so far this season, he's hit it once and been really close 3 times this season so far. Again, nothing in the West Ham game, but maybe against Liverpool he could do quite well. Great stream as always, Shy. Best of luck this game week. Thank you, Davis. Thank you for joining me as usual. Start Anderson or Trafford? I would start Anderson without a doubt. I like the way you put the capital O in Anderson to make sure I haven't gotten confused. Should Salah in the starting lineup? Should he be in the starting lineup? Yes. Is he in the starting lineup? Probably not. I doubt he's going to start this game. I would love if he is. I'm personally loving Mo Salah. I think he should get the send off he deserves for this last game at Anfield. I hope he gets brought on if he's not starting. Looks like we're not going to get Anton before the deadline, lads. Again, I will be refreshing to make sure we're not going to miss anything. But Tarkovsky or O'Reilly, Chai? And that's a tough one. That is a bit closer. I think in that case, I'd be starting... probably starting O'Reilly. I have Richards, Van Dijk. No, I'd be happy going into the game week with that, Johnny. I think I'm going Minta over Anderson. You've now got me panicking. There's not much in it, Chris, I don't think. I wouldn't worry about that. Like, again, playing an 8th attacker, there's never too much going into that, I don't think. But yeah, you're right, Toff. Maybe it is a bigger decision than I'm making it out to be. Henderson or Dubravka? Probably Dubravka. Anderson or Paqueta? Anderson, I want to say. I don't think either of them are great this game week. 7 minutes until the end of the stream, lads. Again, I hope you enjoyed. Any last questions I'm here to answer? Mukiele or Van de Ven? I would definitely... Van der Ven. I would definitely play Van de Ven. Spurs a good chance of a clean sheet this week. Semenyo, Evan Nilsson, Richarlison, thoughts on my transfers? I don't like those moves in particular, to be honest. Callum. Play Minta or KDH? In that case, I would play Minta. Bruno as a Foden captain. I would go Bruno. Mbuemo to Foden? No, not this week. I would hold on to Mbuemo. Please suggest Mukiele. I did, sorry. Lucas is locked in. Timber, KDH, Foden, NOR. Nico O'Reilly. Chat Cucurella or Enzo? I'd probably play Cucurella if it was me. Is Mbuemo going to play? I think it's likely that Mbuemo plays. I'd be surprised if he misses out. Let me continue to scroll on the timeline to make sure we don't miss any leaks. As I'm absolutely starving. I can't wait to get something to eat. Let me quickly... Bench Semenyo or DCL? DCL. Doesn't look like we've got any concrete leaks, lads. Gary says, having a feeling Liverpool-Brighton will be a wild game. 4-3 or something like that. I think Liverpool will win 2-0. I've got one free transfer. I got 4 free transfers. Use one more for Mbuemo to Royce, or save it. Save it until next week, man. Goodmanson or Hartman? Goodmanson or Hartman? I would probably go Hartman for the DEFCON. Hoichoi, Eze over Saka or Foden Semenyo? No, I wouldn't go Eze over Saka. Mateta to Ekitike, Minoz to Anderson, and NDI to Sabo. Great moves there, AAB. Bench 2, Esteve, Reynildo, Senesi, Richards. Reynildo and Esteve. Ooh, or maybe... Yeah, Reynildo and Esteve. Ekitike, Captain Choi. If I had him, I could be tempted, but I still feel like there's 4 or 5 better options out there, Dr. James. Okay, I'm going to do one more scroll on the timeline, lads, and my team is locked in, so let's see if we can get any more content on the timeline before we finish up here. And best of luck this game week, lads. Again, really enjoyable week because we have the 5 free transfers, and next week is an even bigger week. Next week we go into game week 17, and I have bench boost to use, and I'll actually be at the Liverpool Spurs game, which I'm really, really looking forward to. I might be, the deadline stream might be at a different time, due to I'll be in probably in the air while the deadline stream is on, so I might schedule it to a Friday night if that suits a lot of people. If not, it could be very early Saturday morning. I'm getting a Chinese tonight question for after deadline. Is the best dishes FPL Toff is working. What I feel like is a decent dish is I quite like going chips in the Chinese because everyone always has rice, and satay sauce. Satay sauce is usually my go-to. Triple captain Saka versus Wolves or Haaland versus West Ham? Haaland versus West Ham is the obvious one. Just get bench boost out of the way. Esteve, Dubravka, Anderson and Guy. I don't know about that, Andrew. I don't love that. Stream on the flight? Yeah, that would be amazing. Maybe use some Elon Musk satellite connectivity to do it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game. Is Xavi Simons going to go on a mad run, thinking of getting him in next game week? My preference, Doctor, would be to go to Mohamed Kudus over Xavi Simons if you are going to go for a Spurs asset. Will Timber play? I think it is more likely than not that Timber will play this game versus Wolves today at 8 o'clock. 2 minutes until the deadline, lads. Again, Get your any last questions in. I'm going to do one more refresh so we don't miss out on the timeline. See if we can get anything. Chai, one last quick question, says Fahim. He says Richards or Roden on the bench in case Timber doesn't make it. I would go Roden. Eben puts the fire emojis. Why do Ramsdale to Keller? What would you do Ramsdale to Keller? I absolutely would. Thanks for the stream. I'm out. Peace, says Gary. Best of luck, Gary. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Again, do stay tuned. I will have a transfer plans, a team selection. This week I might even be feeling ambitious. I might even do a best players to buy this game week. So do keep an eye out. FPL Chai in the sky has a nice ring to it. It does indeed. Thank you for the stream, says Sid. No worries at all. Keep us non-Saka owners in your mind. I absolutely will. I will. I think this could be a big week for a Green Arrow. And then hopefully we can build some momentum with 3 free transfers going into game week 16 as I do bench boost with a nice bench. Are you benching Minta? I absolutely am. Again, I'm just a bit schizophrenic about missing out on some information for you guys. So I'm going to refresh the timeline to make sure we didn't miss anything. Sabasala Jimenez and Harry Wilson. Who to bench? Harry Wilson. Redemption time for Mo. Absolutely, Yanis. Best of luck, Donal, this game week. Gazetlin says Elliot Anderson over Virgil van Dijk. Absolutely not. Big up choice says from Sympathetic from Belfast. Forgot about my team until 4 minutes ago. No worries at all. I hope I've answered all the questions that you need answering in the last few minutes. But anyway, lads, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Again, best of luck this game week. Again, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm off to throw eggs at Amran's windscreen. Best of luck, Anto, also. And for those who have become a member, congratulations. And please keep an eye on the channel. Again, I will be doing a transfer plans, best players to buy, which is a new type of thing I want to do, and a team selection before I potentially do a deadline stream before the Liverpool game. So, do keep an eye on the channel. But I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gents. I do hope you've enjoyed another amazing deadline stream. Also, do keep an eye on my Twitter because I will be posting updates there. So, as usual, lads, I'm going to leave it there. Do hit the like button and subscribe before you go. And as usual, I will see you in the next. Last super chat from who's that? Mr. Too Good. I couldn't miss this. The stream is not ended and I hope there's still someone here to listen. But he says Kelleher, Skelly, James, Anderson, Bruno, Palmer, Eze, Saka, Captain, Chukwueze, Haaland, Thiago, Dub, Fleming, and Mukiele, Roden. For your team, can you rate please? Love that team, Mr. Too Good. 8 out of 10 for me. And best of luck this game week.